What's up, YouTube? This is BoxingWave, and I wanted to do a quick breakdown of Yuniel Dorticos against Mairis Briedis. That's coming up this Saturday. I will be covering the fight live, okay? There's going to be two big cards Saturday. This card is going to be on dazn at 12 p.m. Eastern, all right? So if you guys, Saturday, if you up, early, well, if you're on the west side, that means that this fight would be 9 a.m., all right? But if you're watching this fight here in the States, just know that you're gonna have to watch this fight pretty early, because I believe this fight is all the way out in Europe. I think they're having it in Germany. Okay, so this fight 12 p.m. be here. I will be covering this fight live, and then after this fight card, we're gonna have a break, and then at some point, I think 7 p.m. Eastern, we're gonna be covering the Jamal and Jamel Charlo doubleheader pay-per-view on Showtime. All right, so I'm going to cover both fights. So about this fight here, this is the more important fight. I know it's not the more popular fight. I know these two guys are not the more famous fighters here in America, okay? But if you guys have been around on this channel, you know that the World Boxing Super Series is my favorite part of this sport today, okay? It's the purest part of the sport. You know, I know there's a lot of titles floating around out there. Pretty much Usyk moved up to heavyweight, and there's titles that's kind of scattered around in the division right now. But this tournament has been around. I've been making videos about this tournament. I've been making videos about this fight. This is the finals of the cruiserweight division, the World Boxing Super Series Championship, the second season. The first season ended with Usyk winning the title, winning undisputed against Gassiev in the finals, okay? But these two lost in the semifinals, both tough fights. Dorticos losing to Gassiev, and he had Breidis losing to Usyk, which was a very, very close fight, all right? Both were very, really good fights, all right? But since then, these guys haven't lost a fight. They've been winning all their fights. They've both been winning the rounds in the tournaments, and I'm going to get into all of that. A lot of this I've covered before, but if you guys are seeing my video the first time, you're going to know where I stand on this. So going into this fight, I've been really, really back and forth, and I'm going to tell you why. Both of these fighters I started watching in the beginning of the first tournament, okay? I can't remember who Dorticos fought first, all right, in the first tournament, but I know he had a crazy knockout highlight in the beginning of that tournament. This was the first time I seen him. I don't know if it was the first or second round, but I remember specifically Breidis fought Mairis, who I was very familiar with. You know, I was covering his fights back in heavyweight, you know. So he went and disappeared for a while. I think it's when he got knocked out by Povetkin. He went and disappeared for a while, came back very slim and very buff, you know, muscular and everything. He started fighting at cruiserweight. Wasn't a good fight at all, okay? Wasn't a good fight for Breidis. You know, it was just a messy fight, a lot of holding, a lot of just messy, not good boxing. It wasn't a good fight. And it was the first time me seeing Breidis. Breidis wins the fight, but just wasn't impressed with him. All right? And then, you know, he goes on to fight Usyk and gives Usyk his toughest fight. You know, clearly winning the first half of the fight, but losing the fight overall. It was very close. A lot of people were making videos about it, including myself. A lot of people felt that Usyk won the fight. Some people felt that Breidis won the fight. You know, some people went as far as thinking that Breidis got robbed. All right. Then, you know, the second season comes around, and we see Breidis fights McKellian. All right. And a fight that I thought Breidis clearly lost. All right, I don't know how many rounds I scored it. I know I covered it here on the channel at some point. And McKellian clearly won the fight. You know, I remember a couple people in the comments were saying that Breidis was off. Breidis had issues, injuries, stuff going like that going into this fight. Breidis looked terrible that fight, all right? And then you had the fight with Glowacki, which he won by knockout, but we had that whole weird mess going on where Breidis headbutts him. You know, it turns into an ugly fight. Chris Bird, the referee, didn't hear the bell ring. So Breidis ended up getting a knockdown after the bell, where Chris Berg did account for it. Glowacki gets up, and he was about to let the fight continue again. It was a mess. So with that fight and with just this tournament so far, it's been messy on Breidis' end, because Glowacki, even though he was stopped, he really didn't get a fair shake. You know, even though he was hurt, he really didn't get a fair shake, because he did get an elbow and then he got knocked down after the bell. It was just a mess. So Breidis and there's been fights where it's either he didn't really look good or he shouldn't get credit for a win, in my book. Okay? Now, taken away from anything that he could do, because I've seen what he's done. I even gone back and looked at older fights of his. You know, I did see what he did when he fought Manuel Charles up at heavyweight, right? Destroyed him. And he gets much credit for that. But it's just very hard, because we just don't know what Breidis we're going to get. Now, when I look and compare the two, because Dorticos is pretty simple, you know. Dorticos is a guy he's tall, he's long, is very aggressive. He's Cuban, but he's not an Irislan Lara, okay? He's not a Guillermo Ringadal, you know? He's a very aggressive guy, throws a lot of punches, you know, leads with his jab, throws a right hand behind it, pretty simple. You know, he throws a lot of punches, right? He throws some punches here to the body and everything, but he's not a counter puncher. He's not setting traps. He's aggressive. He throws a lot of punches, and he's coming to destroy you. He has a lot of knockouts, all right? And even in the fights where there is no knockout involved, he normally wins unanimously, all right? It's usually pretty clear, except against Masterneck. That fight in the earlier in this season in the tournament, a couple fights ago, I thought that was a pretty close fight, where it could have kind of almost went either way, but that was a pretty close fight. Dorticos, he loses to Gassiev. How does he lose? Well, he kind of ran out of gas. All right, Gassiev, who wasn't the busier fighter in that fight, but it seemed like every time he connected, it hit harder. You know, it hurt more. I mean, both are big punchers. Gassiev is really strong diesel guy at cruiserweight. He's probably the naturally bigger guy between all of these guys at the cruiserweight. You know, maybe even possibly more. I don't know. I don't know if he's bigger than Usyk or not, but he's another fighter that went to heavyweight now, even though he hasn't fought there. He's been plagued with injuries and stuff like that. COVID this year, but Gassiev went on to knock out Dorticos in a very, very competitive fight. Dorticos just ran out of gas. And that's part of the problem with Dorticos. You know what he's bringing. Okay, he's really not that deep. Again, he's always coming in with the 1-2. Yes, he's tall. Yes, he's long. And yes, he knows how to fight on the outside. The problem is he's just coming straight forward. He doesn't have great defense. The counter punches are definitely available right there. You know, if you want to counter him, you definitely can. I mean, even when he was stopped and hurt by a counter. Even other fights we've seen him in, he's definitely easy to counter, because you know what he's going to do. All right. It's just that the volume and the pressure is so much. And plus, he punches so hard. We can't forget about his power. All right. So, you know, going into this fight, I've been back and forth. I've been thinking about it all day. You know, I've been thinking about it all year. But I've been thinking about it recently, and you know, today I was watching a little bit of some of their fights. And originally, you know, even when I made a video about this earlier in the year, I thought I was kind of leaning more towards Breidis. Now I'm kind of leaning a little bit towards Dorticos. I don't know, because I feel like a lot of it depends on Breidis. You know, I'm not overly impressive with him. Like, you know, my head is telling me that he's winning because he's the more technical fighter. He has a better punch selection by far. I think he's the better counter puncher. I think he's just a better technical, more well-rounded fighter. Plus, he can hit hard too. He can punch. He can punch as well. I think he just brings more to the table. It's just that with Dorticos, I know what he's coming with. I know he has power. I know he's the bigger fighter. And I know he's going to probably be the more active fighter. He's going to be pushing the fight. Breidis is no slouch, because he throws a lot of punches too. And he's usually coming forward as well. but he can fight going backwards. It's just that Dorticos is a high value puncher. All right, a lot of jabs in there. Even if he's not landing the right hand, he's going to be landing a lot of those jabs. It's hard to really call this fight. It's even hard to tell whether or not. I think it could be a knockout on either end. If there's a knockout with Dorticos, if Dorticos wins by knockout, it's because he's going to land the right hand. It's just because he's going to overwhelm Breidis, which I can see happen. Breidis shows up like the way he did against McKellian. He's definitely going to lose the fight. If he shows up if that's the guy that shows up, he's going to lose the fight. If the guy that shows up against Mike Perez, I think he's losing the fight. But if this is the guy that showed up against Usyk, he can definitely win the fight. He can definitely do it. It's just I don't know which guy he's going to show up. And then at the same time, when it comes to Dorticos, I don't know if he's going to punch himself out again like he did in the Gassiev fight. And the thing is, when I look at that Gassiev, because I was actually specifically watching, there was 2 fights that I was watching today. I was watching some of the Gassiev fight, and I was watching some of the Masterneck fights when it comes to Dorticos. I think Masterneck is probably the closest you're going to get to a Breidis as far as style. Okay, I think you're going to get close. You're not going to get Andrew Tabiti. All right. I think Masterneck was a guy that took Dorticos' power. He was just a tough dude. He was throwing nice. He was landing very, very nice combinations and some nice counters. The left hook is what is going to be the punch that put Dorticos away, But I don't think it's just going to be one punch. It's not going to just be one punch. I think it's going to take a lot because Dorticos is a very, very tough guy. And to be honest, even though he was knocked out by Gassiev, I think a lot of it was because he was tired, going in that 12th round. Yes, he was hurt, absolutely, especially by that left hook. He was definitely hurt, but he looked more tired than anything, because he went the whole fight throwing that 1-2, keeping that volume high. But at that point, when he got hit, he was tired. He was exhausted. Not only that, but if you watch the fight, you watch that last round, he didn't hold. He didn't hold at all. He was a warrior. He went out like a warrior. He didn't use his head, and he wanted to keep fighting, and he didn't attempt to hold Gassiev at all. And I think if he were to tie up with Gassiev, he probably would have survived the fight, But, he let his ego get in the way, and he just tried to go out fighting, and that wasn't a smart thing to do. He got several opportunities to come back, or at least survive. Not come back and win, but survive. When I think of Breidis, I think of the Manuel Chaw fight when he threw an uppercut and that left hook, which put Chaw to sleep. And I see him connecting with those punches and those combinations. I was watching Breidis and I was thinking, he reminds me a lot of Povetkin. All right, the way he steps in and throw his counters. He steps in, sometimes he comes in low, and he can throw those combinations. Very powerful, sneaky. And it reminds me of how Povetkin knocked out Dillian White recently, Dorticos, if he's leaning forward, throwing those right hands, and if he's not an inside fighter on top of that, he could get caught if Breidis get in his space and throws that uppercut in there. I can definitely see him getting hurt by that. I can definitely see him getting hurt by a counter left hook as well while he's throwing that right hand. All right, so there's a few things that I think Dorticos needs to worry about when it comes to that. Again, I think both guys is capable of winning by knockout here. Both guys is capable of winning by decision. All right. I've been back and forth, like I told you. My heart here, I think I would probably have to say Dorticos, only because I just don't trust Breidis. I don't know which one we're getting, but my head is telling me that Breidis. You know, my brain is telling me that Breidis is overall the better talent between the two. All right, but I'm gonna go with Dorticos winning by points. I'm gonna go with him. I'm gonna go by his volume and everything like that. I think I'm gonna go with him, but I think either fighter can win this one. I think I'm gonna go with Dorticos. I think he just was more consistent between all of their fights in the past few years. He just was just a little bit more consistent with me. I also believe that even though he was knocked out by Gassiev was able to really be tough and take a lot of punishment from him. He was able to take the punches. I think even though Breidis is probably a big puncher, I think I respect Gassiev more as a puncher than Breidis. And again, even though Breidis knocked him out, it took him 12 rounds to do it, and it took and I think a lot of it has to do, like what I said earlier, that Dorticos just didn't want to hold when he didn't want to tie out when he was hurt. Breidis, even though I see Breidis being capable of hurting Dorticos and stopping him possibly, I just think Dorticos is a tough dude, man. He's been in some wars, and I think he's gonna be able to do it. I think he's gonna just be able to edge him on points. I can see this going anyway, man. Even if it goes to decision, if it's close, I can see this being one of those debatable ones where everybody's in the comments after the fight saying, maybe Breidis wins, but they give it to Dorticos, in my eyes, or maybe Dorticos wins in my eyes, and they give it to Breidis. I don't know where they're gonna go with this. I don't know, but this fight should be very competitive. If you don't know about the two, definitely tune in. I know the cruiserweight division, when you look up and above if you look at lightweight and above lightweight all the way up to heavyweight, cruiserweight is probably the least popular division in America. Okay, so I know the foreign subscribers that I have, they pretty much subscribe to me because they like when I speak on fighters around the world. But a lot of Americans are gonna leave comments like, "Who the hell are these two? Why are you making a video? You barely make videos. Why are you making a video of these two?" Well, it's because this fight is very important, and this determines who's the best at the cruiserweight division, because the other two best guys moved up to heavyweight. All right, so this is a very important fight. It's not an undisputed fight like the other tournament was, but this is the fight between the top two guys up at cruiserweight, right? So make sure you tune in. Again, I will be here 12 p.m. Eastern to cover this fight. So I should be here. I might have a couple of my guys over watching the fight with me, either if not this fight, but I'll definitely be on. You'll definitely get me covering a fight, and you'll definitely get me again later that evening covering the Showtime pay-per-view, all right? So make sure you guys tune in. Make sure you guys subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.